For more on this, we're now joined by Director and Chief Economist at Econometrix ZA, Dr. Azar Jammine, and he joins us via our video link. Dr. Azar, thank you so much for your time here on the late edition. Of course, we saw the CEO there of the Road Accident Fund saying that they are not in crisis, and in fact, they have improved its claims. What are your thoughts on those sentiments coming out from the CEO of RAF?
The Road Accident Fund used to be in a crisis a few years ago. There's no question about it. One is therefore gratified to hear from them that the financial position we know the financial position hasn't improved because the liability is still around 300 billion rand, as was suggested. But we are glad to hear that the performance has improved and that they are actually now starting to pay out claims much more effectively than used to be the case. So from that point of view, at least, even though it's a huge financial burden on the state, at least operationally, we are told that it's running a lot better than used to be the case. And that's a big relief, because when you had both a huge financial liability and the organization was not running effectively, you had the worst of both worlds.
And one would ask, the liability of more than 300 million rand, can this ever be resolved?
It's a billion rand, it's not million
Billion,
rand.
thanks for the correction.
I have found it very difficult to foresee how it can be resolved. You compared it with Eskom, and it's not that far behind Eskom as a liability. It's really, this is the kind of problem that the country is facing at the moment, and the government doesn't have the money to fund these massive liabilities. So one doesn't know where this is all going to end eventually.
And let's move on, because there's also another problem when it comes to the Road Accident Fund, and it pertains to the amendment of its bill. And we've seen that even in that press briefing that was held earlier on by Road Accident Fund. What do you make of the proposed amendments?
Well, the amendment that I've been made aware of, namely that those who belong to medical aids will not be able to claim from the Road Accident Fund levy, I think that is unethical. It's immoral, because people are contributing towards the Road Accident Fund levy willy-nilly themselves, whether they belong to a medical aid or not, and therefore they should be given the same benefits. I know it's a ruse to try and help the lower income levels at the expense of higher income levels, but it's at the same time one has to question the ethics of such a move.
And would you say that RAF is trying to shift responsibility here from not paying those who are part of medical aids?
Yes, I think that could be the case. We're talking about 16% of the total working age population belonging to medical aids. So, it's not a huge proportion, I suppose, of the driving community, although I would imagine it accounts for some 30% or 40% of persons, given that it's only the higher income levels, slightly higher income levels, who do actually drive their own vehicles or are involved in vehicle accidents.
And of course, so when we talk about that 300 billion rand liability there, very close, like you said, to the debt of, the power utility, does South Africa really need a road accident fund?
That is a question that has been posed for many, many years. The real tragedy is that we should not be having so many road accidents to begin with. We've got one of the worst accident records of any country in the world. And we are effectively, through the Road Accident Fund levy, paying the price for that. If we had a far better road accident record, the road accident levy would not be have the kind of enormous liabilities that it does have at the moment.
And when it comes, to this even staying in our country and talking specifically of the road accident fund, one would ask, can it be replaced by something else that will make more sense for the economy?
That is, you would have to find something completely different to help the people who are involved in road accidents. It is a reality. It's a little bit like the situation that we have with the social relief for distress grant. You do have millions of people who do not have the wherewithal to actually survive without a social distress for relief grant. And I'm sure with the road accident fund, you would have a large section of the community who lose their lives or are badly injured, who would have no other recourse without the road accident fund. The reality from what I have heard, however, is that very often it takes a long while, often years, for claimants to actually be compensated. So to that extent, even those who desperately need it are not need the road accident fund levy are not being benefited the way they ought to be by it. So one has to question whether it is the right mechanism or vehicle through which to resolve the problem. But as I say, at the heart of it all is, if we didn't have so many road accidents, we would not have to be dealing with this huge financial problem.
Dr. Azar, thank you so much for your time and your contributions there. That is Dr. Azar Jammine. He is a Chief Economist for Econometrix ZA.